Hey guys, welcome to a very special masterclass. We are talking all things fried rice. I mean, as a food group, fried rice is way up there for me. Fried chicken, dumplings, fried rice. I mean, do you need anything else? Now, this series of recipes comes from my very new cookbook, which I am so ridiculously excited about. This book contains like all the little tips, the little tricks that kind of make everything easier or better or tastier or stickier or yummier or all those things. I've gathered together all of my very best little snippets and secret ingredients and all those things and put them in this book. So we are going to be going through the how to cook rice for fried rice technique from this book. We're also going to be cooking a spicy prawn and chili fried rice, but we're also going to do how many things can we do? We're also going to be doing a very classic how to cook Chinese fried rice. So all the good things coming up. Now I'm going to do how to cook rice for fried rice first of all, because I mean, you cannot cook a good fried rice if you don't start out with the good rice, you know. So on page 90 in here, I have very explicit, pedantic kind of instructions for how to cook your rice and how to cook your rice for fried rice. So two other things. Now, let's get on to the rice part itself. So you want to rinse your rice off just to get rid of any excess starch. This is particularly important if you're doing rice for fried rice. Sometimes I kind of cheat and don't do that for my steamed rice, but you know, shh, don't tell mum annoy, whatever. But I did do it for this one because for this, I want my grains to be as dry and lovely and, you know, distinct and beautiful as possible. So I've rinsed the rice. I have 2 cups here. And the important part for cooking rice, for regular rice or the rice for fried rice, is the ratio of water. Now this is where things get like a bit, well, I think where things have gone wrong with instructions in the past. So if you've got 1 cup of rice, you would typically do 1 cup and a half for steamed rice. So right, let's get a little technical here. We're doing a masterclass after all. Oh, by the way, if you guys have any extra comments or questions throughout the class, please do comment below and I will get onto them as soon as I can. I'll be scrolling through every now and then, making sure that we're coming back to answer your questions. So now with rice, if you cooked rice in a vacuum, so no evaporation, no external factors, rice would soak up 1-to-1 ratio rice to water. But of course we don't cook in a vacuum because we aren't cooking in a science lab. And when things boil, we get evaporation. So some of that water cooks off. So basically you just need to add like a little bit of water to make up for the evaporation. So usually people will say, oh, okay, well you need 1 to 1.5 ratio of rice, which doesn't actually work out because that's too much water as you keep doubling and doubling and doubling. Does that even make sense? So if you had by that ratio, if you had 2 cups of rice, you would be adding you'd be adding 3 cups of water. Oh, wait, let me do the maths. Hold on.
I love how you refer back to your own cookbook.
Well, I just wrote it properly and then I don't have to, try and explain it again. Okay, let's just
That's a good question. Let me ask me.
Okay, I have tried to explain this so many times and I always get confused. So I'm going to read what I took the time to write in here so I get it right. So most often, most cookbooks or YouTube channels will tell you that there's a ratio for rice and water and it is 1 to 1.5. So if you've got 1 cup of rice, you use 1.5 cups of water. That works out fine. The problem is when you start doubling. So by that ratio, if you were using 2 cups of rice, you would need 3 cups of water. That's too much water. If you had, if you were cooking 2 cups of rice, all you need is 2 cups of water plus that little bit extra for the evaporation. So you only need 2.5 cups of water. Do you know what I mean? Okay, the main point is, doesn't matter how many cups of rice you're doing, 10 cups, 12 cups, 3 cups, 5 cups, 1 cup. You only need the exact same amount of water plus the extra half cup. That's it. That's all you need to know. Now, because we're doing rice for fried rice, we are going to add a little bit less than the half cup. We're just going to do 2 cups of water because I have 2 cups of rice and just a little quarter of the water. That's it. Okay, so turn your heat on. And what we're waiting for here, oh, and this is the other thing, this is why the mama trick always works. So like that much water, so if you stick your finger in and you get the water up to that much, so basically you've got 1-to-1 water plus a little bit. That's why that Asian mum trick always works. So put the heat on and then just wait for that rice to absorb most of that water. We'll come back, it'll be like 5 minutes or so. While that's happening, let's make the sauce for our first dish, which is going to be the how to cook classic Chinese fried rice. So what we need here is some soy sauce, some Chinese Shaoxing wine. Now, I know a lot of you guys do like to keep your cooking alcohol free, and one of the tips that I have in my cookbook is for this recipe, you could just use some chicken stock instead of the wine if you would prefer. And we want a little dash of sugar here as well. I always, not just because my mum always did, but I always do like to put a little dash of sugar into my fried rice. I feel like you get like a tiny little bit more caramelization, like those sugars burning in the pan, which kind of gives you that smokiness you would get from like a really high heat wok tossed fried rice. So that's my little secret there. I'm gonna get my eggs ready as well. Okay, so while we're waiting for the water to boil for the rice, let me just let you guys know that we do have a very special deal for all of you who have been supporting and following my channels for so many years now. We have a 20% off our pre-order sales for the cookbook. So click on the link if you're interested. I would love it if you did. So I hope you love the cookbook as much as I do, because I really love it. Of course. Okay, so we're looking pretty good here. You can see all of that water that was sitting on the top, that's kind of evaporated now. So I'm gonna put the lid on, slightly ajar, just so we get a little bit more of that evaporation going, some airflow, and I'm gonna turn the heat down pretty low and just let that cook away for 5 minutes. All right, do some light reading while we're waiting.
What are you reading? What are you reading at the moment?
No, to be honest, guys, like I do want to show you around this cookbook. So what I did here was I tried to think of all the, like, you know, what are the problems that I have when I'm cooking? Because I'm just like you, I'm busy. I don't always have the luxury of being able to cook, you know, for an hour or 2 hours for dinner, or, you know, who has 2 hours to cook dinner? No one. So I've done things like, you know, made you guys a little weeknight heroes chapter. This is stuff you can get done in like less than 30 minutes. And you know, I'm all about, you know, less dishwashing. So all of those little tricks and tips in there. Comfort food, because I mean, who doesn't love a good fried chicken recipe? Come on. Udon carbonara, 4 ingredients, sticky Asian pork ribs. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, guys. Just like pork ribs, me, the couch. All the noodles and a little bit of pasta, because you guys know how much I love a bit of a fusion pasta situation. So yeah, I mean, so many cool things. And then there's epic weekenders, so like project cooking or entertaining for your friends. There's a whole chapter on rice, including these recipes that we're doing. And also like a from scratch chapter, so you can make your own Thai sweet chili sauce, your own chili oil, your own bao buns, your own barbecue pork actually, which we have here in this recipe coming up as well. All right, now our rice is looking good again. So I'm going to, you can see like it's really nice and sort of the water is really well evaporated in there. So I'm going to put the lid full on now and actually just turn that off and just let that sit for 10 minutes. And that residual steam is going to continue cooking the rice, so that is just perfectly cooked and ready to be stir fried. So that is your how to cook rice for fried rice. Now, I typically would do that the day before. I think day old rice is the best way to go for fried rice. It kind of like firms up in the fridge. So I did that yesterday and I have some sitting here. But if you didn't do that and you're not as organized as me, you can actually tip that rice out onto a tray, pop it in the fridge and just leave that for, I mean, if you can, like 15, 20 minutes, even just that little bit of drying out in the fridge is gonna help you out. So lots of little tips there. Let's get on to cooking our first fried rice dish though. So wok is not essential. A big, large frying pan would be totally fine. What is essential though is you get this guy really hot. The whole idea, I think, with a really amazing fried rice is that it should be quite simple. It's almost like that Italian pizza kind of philosophy where less is more, but the technique and the flavor that you give the rice is really important. Now the heat is gonna get everything like all caramelized and smoky and give you that wok tossed flavor. So even if you are just doing it in a frying pan, you will still get that if you really heat it up. So get it kind of like scary hot, you know, where you're like, ooh, is that too hot? That means it's hot enough. Maybe unless you've got really sensitive smoke alarms, then you should probably not, but I don't, so I'm all good. Add in a little bit of oil here. Okay, we're gonna go in with some garlic. One little tiny tip here on the garlic, don't chop it too fine because it will burn really quickly. So just like a rough chop on your garlic. Onion. Again, guys, please let me know down the bottom if you have any questions. Even if it's not questions on these recipes, I know a lot of you guys cook a lot of recipes from my channel. Are there any other kind of masterclasses that you would like to see from me? I'm always interested to know what you guys think and what things you're interested in watching. So please let me know. All right, so we toss these guys around until we kind of get a little bit of caramelization happening on those onions. Now, while I'm waiting for that to happen, guys, why don't you tell me where you're watching from? I love to hear whereabouts in the world you guys are from, what you're doing. Are you having a glass of wine? Are you having a coffee? How do you make your fried rice? I love hearing your recipes and your takes on things as well. So let me know. Photos are always good too. Love to see your pics. All right, so this is looking good. Now I have here some Chinese char siu pork or barbecue pork. You can totally go out and buy this from a restaurant, a takeout restaurant, order it in. I do have a recipe in my cookbook and on my channels on how to make Chinese char siu barbecue pork at home. So this is the homemade version. That's gonna go in here as well. So that pork is cooked. So you're pretty much just kind of heating it through a little and then just pushing that to the side because we're gonna add in some egg. Now, depending here on whether your pan looks very dry or not, you can add in a little bit of oil if you'd like. Now, egg goes in. And just kind of like spread that egg out as much as you can so that you're sort of making a little omelette situation here. Okay, so once that's kind of like set, so, you know, I can see that the bottom's starting to get a little bit of color on there, so I'm gonna break that up. And so I know there are a lot of like different classic Chinese fried rices, but like this one to me is based on like the Chinese restaurants that I used to go to when I was little, where you get the sweet pops of the pork, you've got the egg, but it's a very simple kind of fried rice. But as I said, it's all about technique and getting that beautiful flavor with the minimal ingredients that you've got. So that's all looking good. I'm gonna go in with my rice. And if we've done our job properly, this rice will end up beautiful, not soggy, and just the right amount of lovely sauce sticking to it. Speaking of sauce, here's our sauce that we made. Now the reason I like to keep also my fried rice, you know, a little bit dry before I get started is that, one, I don't want the rice to get all sticky and gluggy, but two, I want the rice to almost like kind of finish cooking in the sauce so that the rice grains soak up the sauce and then you're getting, you know, yummy rice grains. Okay, so that's looking pretty perfect. I mean, see, you should be able to like shake that rice. We don't have any, you know, sticky, clumpy stuff going on. That looks really good. Okay, final little special bits here. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that heat off now because it's done its job. I'm gonna add in my spring onion. And then I like to add my sesame oil right at the end because toasted sesame oil typically will lose a lot of its fragrance and its punch if you heat it up too much. So if you drizzle it at the end, you get the maximum amount of flavor from your sesame oil and a little pinch of white pepper. Okay, and that, my friends, is your typical, beautiful, classic Chinese fried rice. Yes, it smells so good. And like that sesame oil kind of gives you that pretend smokiness that you would get. Well, it's not pretend, but like if you were cooking in a Chinese restaurant, high heat, all the things, bells and whistles, you would have a really smoky kind of situation going on. And the sesame oil kind of gives you a little bit of that when you're cooking at home. Perfectly cooked rice, just the right amount of saltiness, the sweet pork, all of it. Perfection, yes. Love, love, love. Okay, so let's get on to our next fried rice. I'm just gonna clear this down. All right, so everything is looking beautiful again. We're ready to go on our next fried rice, which is a Thai basil and chili fried rice. This one is like it's a combination of two of my favorite things. One, fried rice, and two, a dish in Thailand called pad krapao. Krapao is the name of the basil that we use in Thailand for this dish, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But the main thing is that it's really punchy, like it's punchy, spicy. It should be like coughing fit spicy when you're frying in the frying pan. So I'm gonna start off with some garlic. I'm gonna make a little chili paste here and some bird's eye chilies, as many as you dare. I'm gonna put 5 in because, you know, I'm hardcore. Today I'm feeling hardcore. You can use more or less, obviously. Now this is a weird thing, but I like to leave the stems on because I want this to be kind of really rough. So when we see the paste in the rice, I want you to almost see the little bits of garlic and the little bits of chili in there. Okay, so you're looking for this kind of situation here. You've got a really rough paste. I'll just take a couple more of those stalks out. That's looking good. Let's get going. Oh no, we're gonna make stir fry sauce first. So this one is really simple. We just want soy sauce, fish sauce, and again, this would be like the stir fry sauce that you would use for the bai krapao stir fry. So that's where you're getting that kind of flavor from. And oyster sauce and a little dash of sugar. All right, so here we go, guys. We're all ready to go in our wok. And again, super hot, scary hot, please. And while we're waiting for that to heat up, let's come back and, because I didn't actually show you my finished rice because I was waiting for it to kind of steam through. Remember I said leave it for the 10 minutes. And I want you to know, make sure that I've done it right for you guys. So if you have a look in here, you can see we have some really beautiful rice grains. They're not too fluffy, like I'll get in here with my fork, as in fluffy. By fluffy, I mean they're not too saturated with moisture. Like they're kind of like very distinct grains, almost a little bit firm. And that's exactly what you want, because as I said, the rice now, when it cooks in the pan for your fried rice, will soak up and almost finish cooking in the sauce. Perfect. Just the tiniest little bit of bite through the center. Okay, so things are looking scary hot here. A little bit of smoke, and I want some oil. Gonna go in with some onion and our chili garlic paste. This is the kind of point where you might need to open up your windows. It can get a little hectic when this chili is frying off. Now, I know a lot of you love this recipe and a lot of you have made it because you've told me. So if anyone has pics of their spicy fried rice or their Chinese fried rice recipe that you've made before, please do post them. Send me your comments. I love to hear all about the recipes you guys are making. And I can't wait to see the recipes that you make from here. So, actually on the back cover is one of my favorites. So this is a ham and cheese toasted sandwich pot sticker. Yeah, like ham and cheese toasted sandwich flavor in a dumpling. Oh my goodness, it's epic. I love it. I ate so many when we shot the cookbook. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, this is, can the crew get through the cook without coughing? That is the question. Okay, so can I get through? All right, prawns are going in. This is where your eyes start to water a little bit. It becomes like an endurance game. Okay, while I'm waiting for those prawns, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about basil. Let's talk about basil. So, as I mentioned in Thailand, the stir fry that we make is called pad krapao. And bai krapao is the name of the basil, and it translates as, well, it's also called in English holy basil or spicy basil. It's very difficult to get a hold of outside of Thailand, I think. So even here in Australia, I have a lot of trouble trying to find it. So I will often use Thai basil, which is different to the spicy basil. It's a little bit sweeter and has more of an aniseed flavour, whereas the holy basil or the baika brau has a more of a medicinal kind of flavour to it. Oh my goodness. So that's like a basil breakdown for you guys, but look, the point of this recipe, and I don't want you missing out because you can't get some obscure basil from Thailand for this. The point of this recipe is you want a lot of basil. It can be Thai basil, like I've got here. It can be regular Italian basil. You just want a lot of it. So I'm going to pick some basil while I'm waiting for my prawns to cook. And actually we have a really lovely neighbour here right next door who grows this beautiful basil that we're using today. His name's Trev. If you're watching, Trev, thank you. And actually I think Trev's basil is a bit of a hybrid because I can see that it's kind of got the holy basil has like the ridged edges like Trev's basil does here. But holy basil has a lot more of a furry leaf and a slightly different flavour. So I reckon Trev has managed to grow himself a little hybrid here. It's not quite spicy basil, but still beautiful. Lovely. Okay, so if you have a look in here, we are looking totally awesome. Things are getting all charry. Everyone's starting to cough. It's all happening. I'm going to go in here with our rice, our perfectly cooked fried rice, and our seasoning sauce. Oh, that is looking really special. I love that. Okay, now we want to go in with our basil. And that is it. And what you're getting right now, like I wish you guys could be here to smell it, but you're getting this beautiful hit of that fresh basil fragrance. You're getting a lot of that chili fragrance as well, but yeah, it's smelling absolutely delightful. Now what I like to do with this one is I like to go a little bit old school with this one. I kind of quite like an old school like molded fried rice. You know how you would get it in, like an old school Chinese shop house in Bangkok or something like that. So my little bits and pieces, I've got some decorative cucumber. I love a decorative cucumber. It's got like this kind of ridged edge on it. I like that. It's cute. Chilies first. So I've got some little chilies that I'm decorating my bowl with here. And I'm going to get some really beautiful choice like pick of the prawns here. Pop them in. Bottom. Okay, now pile that rice in there. Now, the moment of truth. Ah, beautiful. I'll just cheat this little chili piece in here. Oh, that's so cute. You can see your prawns and the chili. Oh, I love that. And a little bit of your cucumber on the side. And a little stalk of spring onion. So, I mean, typically in Bangkok, we always kind of have a little bit of spring onion on the side here. And it's like you kind of eat your fried rice, you take a bite of the spring onion, you've got the cool kind of cucumber as well. So you've got it all kind of going on. And there you go, guys. That is your Thai basil and prawn spicy fried rice. Good. I'm gonna get in here. Oh, this one is kind of like a really big wow, punch in your face kind of guy. Delish. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me this very special fried rice masterclass. I love being able to chat to you guys and make these videos for you guys. And I am so excited now that we now have this book with all of my very best tips, techniques, and recipes that you can rely on time and again. I hope you love it. If you're interested in having a look, click on the link. And yeah, I hope you love it as much as I do. Thanks, guys. Bye. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, why not hit the like button? And even better, I would love so much if you would subscribe and even hit that little bell button so you get notified every time I release a new delicious video. Thanks guys.